Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's not all the time that I've got a really good product in each category that I've been testing at the same time simultaneously, and I just want to show you guys how it's been going, and we'll talk about each one of the products in these categories. I would say at this point, it's really rare with how many things I'm testing in different categories for me to feel really comfortable that I can play at a peak level. And the things on the table right now, I just feel uninhibited. Everything is in such a really good spot in their respective categories. It's hard not to be happy with this current setup. Between the mouse, which is the YSL Cloud Ultra, I've got the Wallhack VA-005, the Hex80 is the keyboard, and the new Monarch MK4s, which is going to be on the higher end for IEMs. I do want to start off with the mouse pad first. This is something that a lot of you glass enjoyers are probably looking forward to. This is the new Wallhack VA-5. I think it's the same size category as the prior Wallhack 4, but it now has CNC tempered rounded edges, so it kind of starts off a little bit lower and rounds onto the pad. So it is actually more enjoyable from a feel perspective when you are getting up onto the pad and you are shifting around the pad with your arm. What I will say is there are a few things I don't like about the pad. Dust particles seem to really be attracted to the pad. The water moisture kind of sticks onto the pad and leaves a little bit of residue between oil and moisture in general, but it is something that's very easy to clean, and the performance never feels impacted in any of those areas. The surface feel is very smooth, and from a micro level, supposedly it has a pyramid structured micro texture that is supposed to have certain friction properties that make this as smooth and as fast as it feels. I wouldn't say that this is a uncontrollable, exceptionally fast pad, but it is on the faster side of glass and mouse pads in general. It's a very smooth feeling pad, and the stopping power here is so good on this pad. Despite its speed category, when you really want to move, you can move on this pad without a shadow of a doubt. But when you really want to get down and stop and have that slow tracking, I don't find it to be a wiggly pad, and that's one of the most important things with glass. I'd find my performance to be better on the VA-5 than the Wallhack 4, their predecessor pad. But again, there are a few things I like about that pad more than this pad. I like the fact that the dust and the moisture doesn't seem to stick on it as much. I like the fact that the other designs have actual artwork as opposed to just the white and the black. But in terms of overall performance, I'm going to be going with the VA-5. For me, it's just a performance that I feel my tracking is better. I feel my flicks are better, and it's been enjoyable both in Valorant as well as Apex. Just so you guys know, I have silver fox skates on my Cloud Ultra, and you guys can see how that glide is. Now, it looks fast when you're just doing a general glide test, but really, if you are controlling the mouse with your wrist and applying downward pressure, one of the things they said was like applying downward pressure shouldn't change the consistency and the speed. And I find that to be accurate. But again, I will just say when you do really want to stop your mouse or you want to really slowly track, it's just really not applying like that additional extra to the movement to make the mouse feel wiggly. And I think that's the most important thing here as to why I feel so good on it performance-wise. My aim doesn't feel wiggly, and I just don't find myself to have that great of a difficulty in correcting my tracking when I need to. The biggest question, obviously, to answer is how it compares to its predecessor. You can see the pads are basically the same size. The pad here on the right is a lower height, but not by much. I wouldn't say it's drastic enough for that to be like a reason to buy the new VA-5. I do like the lip edges. I like the lower height. I like everything about the changes on the VA-5 over its predecessor, but I would say those are still pretty small changes. But the biggest differential is going to be the surface feel in the glass category. The VA-5 is very clearly smoother and faster than its predecessor. The predecessor being kind of like a general typical glass pad feel with a little bit of texture on the skates. The VA-5 still maintains this like glassy, grainy feel, but it's like a very smooth, fluid-like feel on the VA-5, even more so than its predecessor. Again, more speed, as you can see, just flicking your mouse around with some force in comparison to its predecessor, but still close. So again, do I like the VA-5 more? Yes. But is the predecessor still an absolutely amazing glass pad that if I was to stay on it, I would play just as good? It's really just like a sensitivity differential. But I do like the changes in the VA-5. I do feel that I'm playing better on it. And I like the surface feel that I'm getting more than the predecessor. So take that for what it is, but it is always going to be a close call in the glass category. Now, the second thing I'm going to be talking about in this video, and again, we'll get to the Cloud in the next video in the part 2 and the Monarch MK4, but the Hex80, you guys have seen this in my last few videos. This is probably my personal favorite right now in terms of a Hall effect board, and probably the best keyboard that I've received in the last 2 years. I love everything about it, from the aesthetics to the keycaps, the switches, the typing feel, the gaming performance. It is a home run in my book here, but the MSRP is $250, and if that's more than what you want to spend, there are different avenues that you can look at. There's a lot of good Hall effect boards on the market. The unique thing on this board, I would say, is this row here. You've got a button on the bottom that acts as a switch where you can change this RGB layer here or turn it off. You've got a profile switch right here on the right, and then the top switch actually generates different RGB effects here on the top of the board. Very easy to use, and the RGB is beautiful because these Owl Lab tie magnetic switches have a little dispersion layer at the front of the switch that gives it this really nice RGB layer that isn't overpowering, and it just has this unique aesthetic to it with that little dispersion effect at the front of the switch where the RGB is located on the board. The keycaps are PC keycaps. They're frosted, and the frosting is actually really nice mixed with the RGB, but the coating here on the top is really something that should be talked about. It's very grippy and in-game for long hours of use. It still feels really good, very grippy, nothing that became moist, and nothing that I really see having any real shine yet. And I've been using this thing, I think, for like 5 weeks straight so far with a good amount of gaming. So the keycaps do seem pretty durable here in terms of the coating on top. It is a gasket-mounted board, and again, those Owl Lab switches on this board, very smooth. Just such a good switch here on this board. I will say that the main thing that I love about this board is just how beautiful it is. It's got this really nice height to it. It's almost like more low profile, I would say, than some other boards that I've used recently. And it just feels really, really good and goes very well with the aesthetic here. Between the keycaps, the sand gold color that I went with, I absolutely love the color. When the lighting's on, it comes off more kind of like rosy. With the lights off, it's more of like almost a silver. So it's a pretty cool color here in the sand gold. When you get to the back, though, you can see a little bit of a darker rose, and then you've got that chrome kind of mirrored weight there on the back of the board. But everything in terms of the angles here, The board is just an absolutely stunning looking board and feels even better. But when we get to the nitty gritty here, the gaming performance, it has everything you would want in a Hall effect board right now. It's got rapid trigger, SOCD. It's got adjustable dead zones. You can remap everything. You've got rapid trigger at 0.005 in extreme mode all the way to 3.3 millimeters. And then the performance just in general, extreme mode, you can get down to 0.001 millimeters in actuation, or normal mode 0.01. It's got a pulling rate of 8,000. It's got a scanning rate of 32,000. I mean, just a lot to truly love about the performance and the aesthetics and the feel of the Hex80. And just to give you guys a sound test of the Hex80, and the Hex80 does connect to ATK's WebDriver. You can see you can change the various layers on the board, etc., and remap whatever it is you want. The lighting modes, you have all the RGB effects here if you want to quick swap to one instead of hitting the buttons on the board, brightness, speed, sleep times, etc. And in performance settings, they have some different presets already. I've been using the Aspis Champion preset, which has felt pretty good to me, so I just left it. And then all of your trigger point and rapid trigger settings, calibration, and various performance settings that we're used to on a lot of these Hall effect boards now. Advanced key settings, macro settings, and other settings where you can go back to factory defaults and upgrade the firmware if you need to. So guys, I can definitely continue to read certain things from spec sheets and so on and so forth, but I think most importantly is how I feel with these products in game, and how I feel is that there's a lot that is working for my own individual performance. Can I sit here and tell you guys that I can feel 0.08 milliseconds in response time compared to 0.01 or to 0.1? No, I can't. I can just say that out of the boards that I've tested to date, the Hex80 feels right there performance-wise with the best of the best. So it's clicking a lot of boxes for me in the switch feel, and the way the board sounds, the way the board feels, and the in-game performance. The aesthetics of the board, most importantly, I mean, it's just something to me that I love having on my desk, and every time I sit down, it's one of my favorite things right now on my desk. The performance of the glass pad compared to the SP-004, it's definitely something that I feel I'm performing better, but obviously there's a few things that I didn't quite like and I wish were a little bit different, but I do think a lot of people will probably prefer it performance-wise over the SP-004. I've got two other things that are really working for me. Again, the Cloud Ultra that I was using in the clips, as well as the Monarch MK4, which might actually cross the threshold past in A tier on my Wallhack certified tier list, but I need to wrap up a little bit more testing. That is going to be it for this one, guys, until part 2 with the YSL and the Monarch MK4. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.